Good afternoon, BookTube, YouTube. This is Johnny. Thought I'd do a video because I have a space of time. It is May the 22nd, 2025. It is 12:54 in the afternoon. It is a Thursday. I mentioned in my video, but I showed you library thing that I was going, well, Carol and I were going to go to Bluestocking bookshop. They have a $1 bag sale today. Carol didn't go because she got busy doing something in the kitchen because we're having our oldest son and his wife and our two granddaughters over for dinner tonight. As you know, our oldest son and his family live down the street and they're going to come here tonight. So plus, Carol's not really much into books as I am. So I went this morning. I left around 9:47 and the store opened at 10. I was there. Most of the people that were there were just older ladies. And some I recognized when I volunteered at the Book Nook, the library used bookstore. So to get right to it, this is just a used book sale. Book haul. I also, on the way home from the Bluestockings, I stopped at our public library and I bought some books at the Book Nook. As you know, for years I volunteered at our local library used bookstore for the Book Nook, but when the library was remodeled and they had a new Book Nook, I didn't like the setup. It had been a year and a half since I had done it and I just kind of decided not to do it anymore. But I do stop by there to see what used books came in, and so I did that today on the way home. So intermixed with these used books are from the Bluestockings $1 bag sale and some I bought at Book Nook. So here we go. This I bought at the Book Nook, and it's a biography on the poet Federico Garcia Lorca by Ian Gibson. I don't like this advertisement on it, but it was only $1.50, and it's a biography on. He was a poet. I just was reading this historical novel based on him, The Ingenious Gentleman Poet Federico Garcia Lorca Ascends to Hell. And this is a biography on him by Ian Gibson. So it looked really good. It was only $1.50 and I wanted to read more about his life. I used to have, he came to New York City, I think back in the 30s. And then he went back to Spain and then he was assassinated by Franco during the Spanish Civil War. I used to have a book of poetry that he wrote when he was in New York City, but I can't find it. So I got this at the Book Nook. I also got this at the Book Nook. I'm not really into the Second World War, but I collect certain historians, and I had other historical books by Anthony Beevor, and this is his book, Ardennes, 1944, The Battle of the Bulge. Yeah, I have his book on Stalingrad, the fall of Berlin, the Battle of Spain, other books he has done. And so I bought this, The Fall of Berlin, The Battle for Spain, the Spanish Civil War, Stalingrad, The Fateful Siege, 1942-1943. I have Paris After the Liberation, 1944-1949. And this is his one on the Battle of the Bulge. So I got that. Yeah, I collect historians. I got this at the the Bluestockings. A.W. Tozer was a Christian minister, and this is his Christian book of mystical verse. A.W. Tozer. I collect books on gardens and botanists and things like that, plants. And This is from Bluestocking. They put it in a bag, and it was E.L. de Pont, Botanist, The Beginning of a Tradition by Norman B. Wilkinson. And I don't really know what it's about, but he was a naturalist and he started gardens, so it just looked interesting, and I just put it in the bag sale. I don't know. I like reading about gardens and botany and things. This I put in the Bluestockings $1 bag sale. It's like the history of ideas, The Faded Sky, Astrology in History by Benson, Bobrick. It's about astrology and how the moving of the stars affect, I don't know, it just looked kind of interesting. Astrology is the oldest of the occult sciences. I don't know, astrology, I'm not really into astrology, but I put it in it. I like odd books, and it was an odd book, so I got this. And then I collect books on New York City. I got this at the Book Nook. City on a Grid, How New York Became New York by Gerard Kakepel. I can't pronounce the name. Yeah, I collect books on New York City, and I like reading about New York City. And it's like if you're going to read American history, you read about its major cities like Philadelphia, New York City, Boston, New Orleans, San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, things like that. I like reading American history through the history of cities. I got this at the Book Nook. The woman who volunteered there said I looked at it. I'm not really. I'm into Berlin, Germany, and that's what I bought it for. The Madame and the Spy Master: The Secret History of the Most Famous Brothel in Wartime Berlin by Nagel Jones, Urs Brunner, and Dr. Julia something. I don't know. I just threw it in. It was only $2. I like reading about Berlin, 18th, 19th, 20th century. I got this at the Book Nook, The Birth of the West, Rome, Germany, France, and the Creation of Europe in the 10th Century by Paul Collins. It's like medieval history, early medieval history, and that's what I'm into, medieval history, European history, so I got that. I got this at the Bluestockings. I threw it in my $1 bag sale. Ancient City, the classic study of the religious and civil institutions of ancient Greece and Rome. I can't pronounce that guy's name. It's a really old book. It was only a dime. Well, it was really nothing because I put it in the $1 bag sale. But it was published like in the 1960s, 61. I picked this up at my $1 bag sale. Italy, from Napoleon to Mussolini by Rien Albrecht Carey. Well, I collect books on Napoleon, and that's one reason why I got it, because I'm into Napoleon. And I do have a biography of Mussolini and just Italian history. Anyway, the rise of fascism in Italy and things like that. So, I picked this up at the Bluestockings, put it in my $1 bag sale. Life in Christ by Nicholas Cabanis. This is Eastern Orthodox theology. It's underlined, but I came across this book recently in a bibliography, and I was going to buy it anyway, and so I found it. I just want to look at it. It goes into Eastern Orthodox theology on union with Christ, and that's why I picked it up. Is it translate from the Greek by, I can't pronounce his name. I picked it up. I like reading about American politics. I got this at the Book Nook. I have other books by Sheen Witznitz. He wrote a book on Bob Dylan. He wrote a book about the age of Ronald Reagan. He wrote a book called The Rise of American Democracy, and this is his book, Politicians and Egarians, The Hidden History of American Politics. Yeah, I like reading about American politics, American history, and this looked interesting. It goes for $26. I got it for $2 at the Book Nook. I like reading letters, and I collect books on composers, musicians, jazz, rock, classical, blues, folk, and I found the Leonard Bernstein's letters. I once saw a biography on the very famous New York City composer. He was, when I grew up as a child, you see him on TV leading the New York Philharmonic, and he was a very public figure. I think he ran for some office there in New York City, but this is his letters. And I like reading letters. And some of these people, it mentions here, he corresponded with Aaron Copland, Jerome Robbins, Thornton Wilder, Jackie Kennedy, Onassis, and many more. I don't know. It was only $1.50. I got this at the Bluestocking. I put it in my dollar bag sale. It's apparently John King Fairbanks was an authority on China and United States relationships with China, and I'm interested in that subject. So it goes up to about the 1980s, but this is United States and China. You know, I don't know. I like reading about Chinese history. I just was reading that book. I just finished it by that South American writer, where he wrote about the characters in the Cultural Revolution under Mao in China, and so I wanted to read more about that. So that's why I got this. I collect books on the New Yorker magazine, and that there were two at the Book Nook. One I had this one. These are anthologies of writings that were in the New Yorker magazine in the 40s. It has like just poetry from the 40s, New Yorker, theater, arts, musical events, character studies, post-war, the critics. It's just an anthology of writings that was in the New Yorker magazine in the 40s. I had this one, but I wasn't sure. It was only $3, and all the money goes to the library. So I had 3 boxes of doubles in my car. I got rid of. I took them to a thrift store a week ago, along with some stereo equipment. As you know, I've gone deaf in my ear, and so I don't listen to much music anymore, because music irritates me, any kind of noise. But so I took 3 boxes of books to Gateway Thrift Store, and I'll starting another boxes of doubles, and I'll put that in there today. I didn't have this one, the 50s, the story of a decade, the New Yorker. I didn't have this one. I have the 60s, now I have the 50s, I have the 40s. They just came out with a 100-year anniversary of the New Yorker, of poetry, and then a volume on short stories that I plan to buy in the future. But this is the New Yorker in the 50s. And this is more what I'm familiar with. E.B. White is in here. Certain writers and poets that I'm more in tune with than the 40s and 30s, but I got this at the Book Nook. I got this at the Book Nook, and I have a lot of books on Andy Warhol, and I wasn't sure. This was only $1. It's a biography on Victor by Warhol, Andy Warhol, the very famous artist, filmmaker. I collect everything on Andy Warhol, and I wasn't sure, but I bought this. This will also go in the double box. Doubles, I already have this one, and I'll put it, this is by Victor Bockris. And yeah, I like reading about Andy Warhol, and there's a picture of him when he was younger. He started out writing for advertisement, and you remember his paintings of pop cans and things like Coca-Cola or Campbell's soup cans, that's right. So I already have this in my Andy Warhol collection. Then I bought this book at Bluestockings. I didn't put it in my dollar bag sale. It was on for sale. It went for $9, and I got it for, I had in-store credit, so I think I paid $3 for it. It's called Tripping on Utopia, Margaret, Mead, the Cold War, and the Troubled Birth of Psychedelic Science by Benjamin Breen. As you know, I am into psychedelics, the LSD, magic mushrooms. I'm into drugs, marijuana, opium, cocaine. I mean, I don't take drugs. When I was younger, when I was in high school and my 20s, I was into psychedelics, took a lot of LSD, mescaline, smoked a ton of marijuana, but I always did it by myself. I've always been a loner, so when I was taking LSD there in the San Francisco Bay Area, I would go off into the woods, sit by the ocean. I go down to Bobrick or Stinson Beach, or I would hitchhike up Highway 1, go down to Big Sur, or I would hitchhike up to along the northern California coast, Mendocino, and I hang out with hippies and sleep in communes and sleep on the beach, and I would always be alone, and I would take LSD or smoke marijuana and get high, and I would just seek higher consciousness. And then I became, then I realized I had reached the height of higher consciousness. There's no higher I could get. And then now I can't smoke marijuana, even though it's legal. I would get paranoid or freaked out if I got too stoned. So I don't do that anymore. I came to a place in my own life where I just want to keep my mind and my thoughts and my focus on Jesus. So I don't drink I don't get stoned, I don't trip out on drugs, and I'm God conscious. How high can you get? So anyway, but I like reading about psychedelics and the history of psychedelics and LSD, and so that's why I got this book, Tripping on Utopia. So those are the books I got at the dollar bag sale at the Bluestockings, the books I got at the Book Nook today. I wanted to make this video because tonight, as I said, our oldest son and his wife and kids are coming over, and I want to get these downstairs, down into the lower level. And I found out from a booktuber that Princeton University had a 50% off sale. I knew about Yale, but I didn't know about Princeton. I like Princeton University books, so I bought a bunch of those the other day. I'm supposed to get a shipment. I bought 6 or 7 books that I plan to get in the mail. And I ordered some used books recently. So there's always books coming in. Tripping on Utopia, The Birth of Psychedelic Science, and I like reading about Warhol and 70s and the 60s in New York City and the pop art movement and abstract painters. And I like reading about the 50s. This looks really interesting. In the 40s, I'm into American literature, poetry, art, music, literature. So the 40s, the New Yorker. I like reading about Chinese history, Asian history, Japan, the Vietnam War. I like reading letters, Leonard Bernstein letters. I like reading about American politics. I live in Christ. I mean, I talked about that I am a temple of the living God. I am indwelt by God, the Holy Spirit. Christ lives within me, and so, why get stoned? Why go off on some trip? And I like reading about European history, Italy, the rise of fascism during Mussolini. I collect books on Napoleon. The Birth of the West, this is on the 10th century, medieval history. Ancient city, I like reading. So I'm not really into ancient history, especially Greek or Roman, but it was put in my dollar bag sale. I don't know about this book. I'll check it out. I'm not really into those kind of things. I was kind of excited to find a biography on this poet, since I was reading about him, the historical novel based on him, Federico Garcia Lorca. So I got a biography by him, by Ian Gibson. I collect books in New York City, in New York. I'm not really into astrology, but it has, if you read even the Old Testament, the ancient people, the Babylonians, the Syrians, they were into astrology, and astrology was in the Middle Ages, and so it's just kind of a history of ideas. I like reading about gardens and gardeners and botanists. That's why I got this. Tozer, every day I read a little calendar that has quotes from Tozer's mystical writings, and that's why I got this up. And I collect the writings of Anthony Beevor, the historian. This is on the Battle of the Bulge. So that's what I got. So now I can put these down on the lower level, and so my kids don't think I'm nuts. But I'm a book lover. I love all kinds of literature. And yeah, today I really didn't get to read anything. Well, my wife and I, we're still in the book of Acts. We're almost done with Acts of the Apostles in the New Testament, and then we're going into Romans. Now at night we're reading through Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah in the Old Testament. So we're always reading the Bible, praying, and waiting for the second coming of Christ. So yeah, my wife left this afternoon to do an encouragement visit, her and another lady from church. Women in her church go and visit people and encourage them. And that's what my wife is doing this afternoon. So yeah, I'll probably put these books down at the lower level. I read nonfiction in the afternoon, and I'll probably read that book on American transcendentalism, or the capitalism and its critics, or I'll read that book on some nonfiction. So I hope you're having a good reading week. It is now 1:18 in the afternoon on a Thursday here in Southwest Michigan. It is May the 22nd. My wife and I, we celebrated our 46th anniversary on the 19th of May. So the Lord is merciful. So I'll sign off. Do thank you for all your comments. Thank you for subscribing. Sometimes I find comments. I found comments yesterday, a week ago, and I can't figure out where these comments come and where they go. But I do appreciate all comments. I do appreciate all those who subscribe. I do seek to just show my love for books, and as you know, I'm a Christian bookworm. I'm not here to preach. I'm here to just show and to reveal all the books, Christian and secular. I'm rambling, so I'll close. May the Lord bless. Until next time, bye.